I think there is not a single artist on this entire, at least the Bollywood platform, that doesn't want to work with Imtiaz. I think he's pretty much on the bucket list of every single actor I know, and otherwise also. So I just feel truly blessed to be able to get this opportunity to be directed by him. And I was like, even if there were two scenes, even if there's one scene, I would do it just to know how it feels to be directed by a director like that. And I am a person who's, if I'm doing something and I just go like complete extreme to do it, and I'm never able to find that balance. But I think in essence of who I am, if you give me money and if you give me relationships, I would choose relationships any day. To talk about male gaze, I think it's completely unacceptable, right? At any given point, at any given career, at any given platform, at any given, I don't know, a profession, it's just unacceptable.
Today, I'm really excited to be joined by a talent whose films I have watched, I think, over the years. And
Please don't say growing up.
I know, over the years. And I typically said over the years as well, because I was like trying to make sure that, I don't add an age bracket at all. But over the years, and I think it's really wonderful how resilience, I think, has been a really good word to really describe your journey, I think, because it's definitely not been an easy one. There's been lots of upheavals, and there's also been successes that you've had, but there's so much more. But of course, the talent in question is Anjana Sukhani. So Anjana, thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy. It's so good to have you.
Same, pleasure's mine.
Lovely. Look, I think, Anjana, let's begin with the present day. So I believe you're gonna be starring in Imtiaz Ali's Main Vaapas Aaunga, and you're playing you're playing a very pivotal role with Naseeruddin Shah in that. Um, I think it sounds like the concept sounds really poignant. It's about longing, belonging, the emotional chord, so many different aspects. Talk us through, the character that you're playing and what it meant to be working with Imtiaz at this point of your career and what significance the story had on you.
Wow. So to begin with, I think Imtiaz Ali is a genre in himself, basically. And I think there is not a single artist on this entire, at least the Bollywood platform, that doesn't want to work with Imtiaz. I think he's pretty much on the bucket list of every single actor I know, and otherwise also. So I just feel truly blessed to be able to get this opportunity to be directed by him. And I was like, even if there were two scenes, even if there's one scene, I would do it just to know how it feels to be directed by a director like that. It's been absolutely magical for me. I feel, yes, the wait has always been worth, I would say, that even though there's been longer gaps, I feel, in my journey, but I think all the gaps have been worth the weight of the work that I've done after that. What I play in Main Vaapas Aaunga is a girl called Meher. She is Naseeruddin Shah's daughter-in-law in the film, and she's more like a caregiver in the film. So wherever you will find Naseer Saab, you'll find her because she's always around him. And but she has her own individuality. She's a very non-filtered girl. There is no filter at all. Rather, I think when you watch the film, you would know better what I'm saying right now. She's funny, and she's the only woman in the house. So I think amongst all the male energy, she's the only female energy who's sweet, innocent, and no filter conversation at all. And I think it was a very, very endearing character Imtiaz wrote. That there had to be she didn't need to have malice. She actually needed to have more sweetness in her in her aura, in her performance, in the way she talks, in the way she moves. She's this very fut character. Like she wants everything to happen like really quickly. You know how some people are, no, they're just in a rush for everything in life, and she's this rush in the film, I feel. And but the way when Imtiaz narrated to me, of course, I knew I'm doing it. I mean, who says no to Imtiaz Ali, dude? Like seriously.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, exactly. Who would want to? Not who says. Who would want to really? And it was from the word when he called only I knew. I mean, there was no way I would have said no to anything he would have offered. So I just feel like I'm truly blessed to be able to work with some superb directors in my lifetime as an actor.
Beautiful. Um, I think it's really interesting though, because when you said that she's someone who's like a caregiver and who wants everything very quick, I feel like that's very interesting because I feel like somehow from the works of yours that I have seen, that seems to be a subliminal strand in all the characters that you have played, where there is someone who essentially is compassionate, is empathy, is that support factor, right? I mean, before this interview started, we were talking about Jashnn, right? And that's a good example that we can spotlight here. You also had ambitions, but you were also someone who was equally very supportive of of the male love interest and him pursuing the dreams as well. Kahina, do you think that's somewhere reflective of how you've been as well, Anjana, of someone who is compassionate, who is empathetic, but also, you know, wants to achieve greatness and stuff like that. Is that something which is there?
I think you just like hit the nail because I feel I am always trying to strike that balance between the both. And I am a person who's, if I'm doing something and I just go like complete extreme to do it, and I'm never able to find that balance. But I think in essence of who I am, if you give me money and if you give me relationships, I would choose relationships any day. So if you give me, I don't know, maybe I feel that inherently I probably have that quality of being very supportive of other people's dreams that I think sometimes I lose my own. I might go off track, maybe better way to put it. I might go a little off track and then come back on my own track again. But I do deviate a lot uh to be able to, I don't know, help. I don't know if I can be of any help, but to be emotionally and physically available to take care of things and people.
Hmm.
And I feel that somehow even Imtiaz's films have that. I feel the women have a very beautiful quality of very deeply falling in love in his films. Like whether you take Socha Na Tha or whether you take even Geet, I think in Jab We Met, like she had her own journey, but it was also I think that love journey overtakes everything for them. So
Hmm.
maybe I think that's how just he writes his characters, and maybe he probably also gets those artists where he probably feels that resonates that quality with them. So I don't know, subconsciously maybe.
That's very interesting. No, I think it's a really good perspective you've had. And I think that's the beauty of Imtiaz is the way he
Yeah.
writes his characters, female characters, they're that whole paradigm of male female just no longer exists and in his movies. He kind of is a non-conformist, and I think in that sense. And I did an interview with him recently, and honestly, it was so eye-opening because he is someone who doesn't fit into boxes, and when you don't fit into boxes, that's when, things get tricky as well because society finds it very difficult to understand you because you're not either
True.
or. But then also you kind of have this free-spirited life. But I think not fitting into boxes quite fits you as well, though. Like I think in terms of your career graph as well. I mean, Anjana, when you began, the dynamics were very different in Hindi cinema at least.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Very, very good.
and obviously then you ended up, I mean, obviously you've had a few Hindi films. Unfortunately, some of them haven't done well, right? But then you've done a lot of the Telugu and South movies, which have done really well as well. And you've done some prominent work there. It's such a juxtaposition, isn't it? When you kind of look at it in hindsight. I mean, how do you kind of view that younger self back then and now when the way things have panned out?
I think it takes a certain kind of maturity to understand your journey once you've done the journey. When you're in the process of journey of what you are going through, you're not really thinking because you're so occupied with, okay, what next, what next, what next, what am I going to do, or how can I make myself better, or how can I do better than what I've done before. But I feel there is the maturity comes in and you realize that a lot of it is not in your control. Actually, pretty much nothing is in your control. The only control that you have is do your job right, you know. And filmmaking particularly is not a solo process. It's not that I'm just an actor and the film will work. It is an amalgamation of so many energies together, right from a light man to a spot boy to a writer to a director, actor. Everyone comes together to make that one dish, right? So even if one ingredient falls short in some or the other, or if one energy kind of falls short, something might not work. Now, nobody can pinpoint where it fails because there is no formula for filmmaking, making it a success. You just keep at it and keep doing what you're doing and be honest with the work that's been assigned to you. And that's the only control you have. But again, like I said, that realization comes pretty, pretty late, because at that time when this is happening, you're like, oh my god, why is this happening to me? Why is the film not working? Why didn't I get this? Why I could have done that better? You're constantly questioning. But I guess then the stability hits you and like, okay, just you do you and let the universe take over the rest. Your audio went off.
I like the way you look at things with such optimism. Honestly, I think it's so heartening to hear that. But I'm sure to reach this stage, it must have not have been easy because I think, the problem is, I think, is with this industry, it's so chaotic, it's so messy, and there's so many egos, there's so many um lines that one has to toe under. There's so many different permutations and combinations. I'm assuming, I don't know how it is, but obviously now things have heightened up because of social media and there's more onus on hype rather than content nowadays, I feel. And I feel like back then you did have your tabloids, you did have the magazines and the
Yes.
chat shows which were spicy and added that extra sense of sensationalism. But I think back then, I mean, how do you view as the failures that have happened in your life or things that have not gone as well as you might have expected them? How do you view them now versus back then as well? Because I think it would be really nice to understand that journey and process of yours.
So like I said earlier, that while you're going through that journey, of course it's very difficult. It's not easy when you're in your 20s, that to accept failure that easily, because you don't understand that the failure is actually a step towards success. But at that time, you don't understand it. But you have to go through failure to understand what success feels like or what it would be like to be successful. And I think, first of all, we need to stop rating failure and success, because if there is actually no failure in life,
Yeah.
there is going to be no success in life. So I now I feel it. In retrospection, of course, you always get wiser and you say wiser things. But genuinely, when you evolve, you realize कि failure भी बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि आप सीखोगे कैसे? How will you evolve? How will you get better if you don't taste the bad? How will you know how the good tastes like? So I feel I stopped fighting that bit of this is not doing well and that is not doing well, or oh, I didn't get cast in this, oh, I could have done better if I was casted in this. I think you just very, I think, with effort accept that okay, this is my journey and my journey is very different than somebody else's, and let's just make best for what's been given to you. You can either be a victim or a victor, as my husband puts it, that you can. So of course I have low moments, of course I have emotional moments, of course I feel like, oh, they didn't call me for it, but oh, but even I am part of it, but they didn't interview me for it. So you can either be a victim or a victor. The choice that you have to make, nobody else can make that for you. And I feel I would rather be the victor than be a victim. From where I come from, I feel every step has actually been a success for me, because when you come from nothing, everything else feels like, oh, wow, this is a gift. And I think I feel like I want to take it that way, that everything that's been given to me is a gift, whether it's the good, the bad, the worst, because it is doing something for me which I don't understand at this moment, but the universe is putting it together. So let's just wait and watch.
Beautifully said. And do you know what? Earlier I mentioned that, you've done work in Hindi, but then you've also done South. But actually, you've had a very holistic, almost holistic view, actually. I can't say holistic yet because India is such a diverse country. But you've had a fair share of doing films in different languages. Like you've done Punjabi films. You've made your Marathi debut with Sanjalila
Exactly.
Bansali, Lal Ishq,
How many
right?
people can say that, that I've done like 25 films or 30 films in my career? I mean, I should be very grateful that I got those opportunities, especially because I think that I I didn't uh, I didn't want to become an actor. I accidentally became an actor. But when I became an actor, I realized, oh my God, this is my calling. This is what I'm meant to do. So, sometimes you're pushed into what you're supposed to do rather than you choose what you're supposed to do.
And also, you've done films with Dharma as well. Like you've done a Shandar, you've done Good News as well. So honestly, it's such a, it's so interesting. Like I'm just so mesmerized by it all because,
Understood my career journey ever. So I don't expect somebody else to understand it. Trust me.
which is exactly why you're apt for an Imtiaz Ali film, by the way. Because honestly,
No,
you need this. There has to be some sort of a chaos, I think, within you because you have to understand that is
where it's
exactly.
needed.
Exactly right. But I have to say though, I think musically though, I think for me one of my favorite films of yours is Jashnn. And as I mentioned earlier, like I feel Jashnn was one of those movies which kind of came out, right? Nobody very honestly had any expectations from that film because you and Adhyayan at that point were like, you were fairly new. Adhyayan was definitely very new at that point. I think this was his debut film, wasn't it?
No, he debuted with Kangana earlier before
Oh,
that.
with Raz, right? Yes. So this was like his kind of secondish film.
Second or
You,
third film,
yeah,
probably,
you were
yes.
like a recognized face. People knew of you, but again, it unfortunately the paradigms of what was then is very different to how now we would perceive it. But the music was so good. And
So
honestly,
good. To be honest, even the film was really nice.
it was a good
Uh,
film.
it was a good film, but again, I think it's about timing. It's about, I don't know. Like I said, the alignment of energies. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the film could be nice, but if it's not promoted, it people don't know about it. How are they going to go watch it? So it's like you said, there are too many combinations and permutations to everything in the world. So
Yes, exactly. But also, I'll tell you what has definitely caught my attention, and also ironically, next year, 20 years of Salaam-e-Ishq. Um, and we cannot forget that little Babuji Dheere Chalna dance that you did in that. And oh
yeah,
my God, in fact, when you came on screen, I should have just said, "What's on your mind?" I should have just sung that when you came on. So, in Salaam-e-Ishq, it was a very bizarre situation because in a way, you're playing a girl who's very young, who's very kind of again ambitious, right? Who someone is like a support kind of giving soul. But at the same time, she's in a way kind of caught the attention of a middle-aged married man. And there's so many different taboos attached with that story that you were a part of. And I find that really fascinating, Anjana. I mean, especially that was literally quite early on in your career as well. You were only, what, 3, 4 films old.
yeah, probably.
So what was your experience like with navigating that sort of theme and quite also apt in today's day and age when we're talking about the male gaze and especially you've been seeing the whole stuff that's been happening in South Indian cinema with the representation of actresses and all that, which we'll get into as well shortly. But what was your early experience like of playing that character, which was all about the male gaze, essentially?
So, the beauty of Salaam-e-Ishq, particularly the track between, Anil and Juhi ji and me, was that you never felt what a bitch she is. You never felt like, oh my God, that second woman, bloody bitch. You
Yeah.
actually, I like when I see it, I feel Anjali was very soft and sweet. She just fell in love. She didn't, I'm not saying morally this is right, but sometimes emotions just take over without judgment. And that's what happened to that character. Maybe she wasn't aware of the full truth. that was happening in his life, because you don't see that conversation happening. But you also don't feel that, oh my God, this second, the other woman, she's trying to break her home. I actually, when I see the film, even now, I feel like she was very sweet, docile. She was, even though she was ambitious, but she was not over smart. But she just maybe fell in love with someone she didn't realize she would. But in terms of, yes, when you talk about male gaze, I think it's completely unacceptable, right? At any given point, at any given career, at any given platform, at any given, I don't know, a profession, it's just unacceptable. When you jump into it, whether you are aware of it or not, I feel women have this amazing sixth sense of understanding what is going on.
True.
And I feel that you just have to put your foot down at that very moment. But I also do understand there are so many times when you cannot. Not because you don't want to, but maybe because you need the work, or maybe because you will be chucked out, or maybe because they will not, they will not make you part of that circle ever again. So I don't know what really goes on. There could be like millions of situations where women get into it and sometimes are able to stand up for themselves and sometimes are not. And I feel it's okay sometimes when you're not as courageous. Yeah, that's the reason why domestic violence happens, right? Because women are not able to stand up because they're scared. And we don't know what they're scared of. Are they scared of financial instability? Are they scared of, oh my God, I will have nobody emotionally? At least I have something or someone. Or I'm saying maybe as an actor, I would feel maybe, what if they don't ever give me work again? What if they tell other 10 people and I never get work again? And I don't want to be in that situation कि मुझे कभी काम ही ना मिले. But at the same time, it is such a thin line between these two yes and no, accepting and standing up, that it's a very, very precarious situation. Honestly, I feel no woman should be put into that situation to begin with. As a man, it's a man's responsibility to respect a woman and not degrade her or condescend her or make her feel any small or objectify her. This, I feel, God has given that responsibility to men to take care of them and not objectify them. But if that is happening, that at some point, maybe you will lose it all, but at least you'll have your dignity,
Intact.
and integrity intact. And I guess, again, no judgment, but to each their own, I would say, yeah. Because we don't know what circumstances people are in to be accepting if something is going wrong.
That's very true. No, very true. Look, I think on a bit of a positive
Can
note.
you please take last question, Anuj?
Yes. I think on a positive note, like going forward, like I mentioned earlier, the amount of directors you've worked with is incredible. You've worked with Rohit Shetty as well. You've worked with Suraj Barjatya with Bara Naam Karenge. You've done, I could literally list the amount of amazing filmmakers you've been a part of. Ram Gopal Varma, Priyadarshan also. I mean, I'm sure, but Shreya, Anjana, I would love to know, what do you have in mind now, I think, going forward? Because, like you said, this was an unexpected, route for you anyway. But since you've kind of found a pathway, what sort of ambitions do you kind of have now going forward? Is there anything as an artist that you're really wanting to get your teeth sunk into for
My
this?
God, there is so much meat left in me, I would say, yeah, because I would want to do a rerun of working with all the directors again.
That would be cool.
I would love that. I would love to work with Priyank sir, with Ram Gopal Verma, with Rohit, with Bansali sir, with Imtiaz again, with Nikhil Advani, with Raj Mehta. I think, I would like to, like I said, do a rerun again and do another film with them. It'll be great. But there's so much of now new young blood with new energy and new ideas. And I would love to dig my, teeth completely into that and see what comes up. Because I think now we are in a place where we can do a lot of experimenting because of the OTT.
Correct.
So there's so much that we can do now. There's so much that we can say now. There are so much stories that still need to be told. I would like to try all the genre. I think I'll be great in comedy, so I would love to do comedy again. And if somebody makes a mature love story, I'm telling Imtiaz, please make some mature love story so I can play that.
Oh, that would
But
be
I think it'll
lovely.
be great too. Yeah, it'll be great to associate with all of them once again.
That would be honestly, that would be so good. But Anjana, I'm so
That'd be
happy.
so cool, actually.
Like seriously, because I feel like there's a lot of talent that you have actually, as an actor. And I've felt that over the years, and I've mentioned over the years again, and not
Yes.
giving up. But over the years I've felt that, that you've had this presence that's been there. And I think again, like Ishq ka hai kaam purana, chain ban ke chain churana. Every time I hear these words and I hear the songs that you've been a part of, it just I don't know. It just makes me feel like, it's just amazing because it's so, like this actors like you, for example, right, who have had such an impact, but unfortunately, because of permutations, combinations, they've just never got that opportunity. And I really hope that we get to see
Milega, milega.
आपको जरूर मिलेगा 100%, and I'm manifesting it actually. So I think definitely it's you're gonna. I'm just so happy that we could do this today because, yeah, really, really lovely memories of the works that you've been a part of. So I'm really happy that we could do this. Thank you so much for joining me today on Filmy
Thank
Shilmy.
you so much. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for reminding me that I did a film called Jashnn because not many people actually talk about it.
It's a great, honestly, it's so good, especially when we talk about like I know people talk about Ashiki too, and it was obviously such a big,
Of course.
trendsetter, but I think before that we had Jashnn, which was actually along those lines, and I feel like there been, had there been a bit more, I don't know, like if things were better back then in terms of getting the
You
word
never
out
know.
there more, things could have changed. But I do remember it did get really good reviews though, back then though.
It
That's
did.
what I remember.
It did.
So
Thank God for that.
yeah, exactly. It was so good, but it's so lovely. I think I want to just listen and go back and listen to some of those beautiful songs. Yeah, like
Please
on
do, and please do watch Main Vaapas Aaunga, and please let me know what you think about it.
absolutely, and I'm so glad that we're going to be seeing you that as well in that as well. So big, big shout out! I'm so happy. Cannot wait to see you do a Kya Kamal Hai performance in Main Vaapas Aaunga. So looking forward to that.
Same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjana. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
It's so
See you. Bye
lovely.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.